lighting lamp. Really nice.
In part 1, we hiked out of Molipata and into the high alpine of the Andes, making it over the crux that is Salkantay Pass, while getting up close and personal with the namesake mountain, as well as the valley that follows. It was in this valley that I found my campsite in the little settlement of Wayrak, and this is where we'll pick up part 2 of the Salkantay trek. Waking up with the crux of the trek now behind me, it was time to pack up my things, head back onto the trail, and say goodbye to the lovely mountain village of Wayrak.
Now I'm filming with the iPhone because I'm worried that I'll run out of memory card space. And also this morning I realized my sunglasses are completely scratched up, and so I'm probably gonna have to get a new lens when I get home.
The start to the day's hike was a consistent downhill, heading away from the barren high alpine environment and into the luscious green cloud forest below.
So now the sun's just come out and it immediately went from cold to hot, so I'm gonna have to take off my jacket. I've already walked 1.2 miles according to my health app on my phone, so I'm making good pace. Yeah, really nice and peaceful through this valley. Looks like we're headed that way. We're closing in on the jungle. Apparently there's an archaeology site here. I don't really see it. Now I think this path is the archaeological site. Maybe it's some Inca road or something, though that's just an assumption.
The trail continues to descend until reaching the town of Chalet next to the river down below.
Alright, so I've reached the town of Chalet. I think I'm gonna pump some of this water. So even though it's pretty warm, I put this layer back on, long sleeve, because the mosquitoes and blood-sucking flies are just too much. I have so many bites. So if you guys come here, I recommend you wear long sleeves or a lot of insect repellent. Okay, goodbye Chalet. And we're gonna start heading north again for the first time since day one. I'm not gonna lie, this new region looks very nice.
At this point, the trail becomes a relatively flat double track, taking you along a scenic river gorge. The greenery of the rainforest providing a stark contrast to the barren high alpine environment.
Alright, based on my calculating last night, it's about 6 miles to Pampa from our camp last night, which we already did. And now we're on the 10-mile path to La Playa. If I want to get a 3-mile-an-hour pace, I should be there in less than 4 hours, hopefully.
By the time I caught first glimpse of the town of La Playa, the sun was already setting, casting a golden glow over the mountains. Entering the small mountain town, I went to the first campsite I saw, paid my 5 soles, and prepared to set up for the night.
Soda later. Son of the owner. I'm the only one here in the backyard.
Well, of course, I had to stock up on some of the essentials first.
Shop, I bought a Inca Cola and a Fanta for 8 soles total, which is pretty expensive. Okay, so it's currently 6:12 in the morning. I walked 15.2 miles yesterday. Based on my calculating, I'm gonna have to walk about the same today to get to Aguas Calientes. I'm probably gonna break down the tents, pack out my bag, and then go take a shower in the shower over there. Alright, so on the outside it looks like there's a switch, and I think this was the switch they had to turn on to get hot water. But it's too late now. I already took a cold water shower. Here's all my gear. Rain fly, I was waiting to dry. So the mosquitoes have already started to bite. And the flies, I mean. My legs are gonna be a bloody mess by the end of the day today.
Back on the trail, the initial mile or so was the same story as the day before, requiring a hike along the river on a gravel car road. Upon reaching this sign, the trail actually splits, offering trekkers a shorter traverse over the mountain, as well as other interesting sights to see.
Looks like this entire route is going to be lined with these old ruins. I assume Inca. What a strange looking duck. I've never seen this kind of duck before.
The trail then passes through hundreds of coffee plants belonging to the Lukmabamba coffee plantations.
So yeah, these are all coffee plants. So pretty much all along the trail, I'm walking through coffee plantations, which is pretty cool. And here I believe are some of the more ripe coffee beans, which are red.
From Lukmabamba, the trail really begins to climb, offering one last view of La Playa before heading towards the top of the valley walls. Along the way, there are many sections of Inca steps, which was very cool. And after a hefty ascent, the neighboring valley walls become level, indicating that you've reached the top. The trail then quickly begins to descend again, heading into a brand new valley.
Alright, so I finally made it to the ruins. Lac Tapata, ahead in 60 meters. And here we are, the ruins at Lac Tapata. Here's the view from the trail. I just got here.
Actually pronounced Yactapata, the site is widely believed to be the home of an Inca chieftain, and like its more famous counterpart, was also discovered by Hiram Bingham in 1912. But unlike Machu Picchu, most of the structure lies derelict and still in ruins, showing visitors what Machu Picchu may have looked like before Bingham and tourism really took off in the area. Speaking of Machu Picchu,
from Lac Tapata ruins, you can see Machu Picchu right ahead. Before I go, Salkantay kind of peeking through again. Just one last shot of it.
from Yactapata begins an endless number of switchbacks down to the Ahobamba River below.
I see a waterfall there in the distance, and I think that is the waterfall they talk about that powers the hydroelectric dam.
Once you reach the bottom, there's a fun suspension bridge waiting for you to take you across the river. And then you just follow the scenic path north. By the time I got to where the hydroelectric waterfall was, they had already shut it off, leaving the waterfall a trickle unlike the full waterfall I saw when I was coming down the mountain earlier. As you begin to head east, if you see this monolithic rock, then you know you're headed in the right direction, as you head towards the hydroelectric facilities behind the waterfall. From here, distinctive signage pointing you in the direction of Machu Picchu begin to appear, accompanied by white arrows that serve the same purpose, leading to the railroad tracks that follow the Urubamba River, and that will take you to Machu Picchu.
Alright, to Machu Picchu. I'm headed the right direction.
Or so I thought, as the actual roadway to Machu Picchu was actually on top of this one on a hill.
Alright, so it turns out the train tracks that I was on is not the train tracks to Machu Picchu. It's actually these tracks right here that go to Machu Picchu. You have to climb a pretty steep hill to get up here, and there's a dog over there, and it's pitch black up here. So 2 hours of this, 10 kilometers, and hopefully I make it out alive.
Although it was definitely interesting walking through the forest and along the Urubamba River at night, I was pretty much completely alone, except for a group of French tourists who offered me some of their food, which was very nice. But there are certainly many places where you could trip or fall and seriously injure yourself, so I don't really recommend you do it by yourself at night. Although if you don't have a cold like I did, and you began the day with an alpine start, you really shouldn't be walking here at night anyways, as you would have already reached Aguas Calientes. But enough of that, as after walking along the railroad for about 2 hours, the sheer darkness of the forest gave way to the artificial light of Aguas Calientes, where I found the cheapest hostel I could and went to bed. The following morning, I awoke to what I would have seen walking along the railroad the night before, with those same railroads following me into town, as Aguas Calientes is almost exclusively a rail town, which brings in supplies as well as tourists. Although some may disparage the town as being nothing more than a tourist haven, I found Aguas Calientes to be quite charming, and a very cool town architecturally. It's here you'll find the official ticket office for Machu Picchu, although the people you see here are all guides, and so for regular tourists you have to go in the morning to get your tickets. Nearby is the bus ticket office, where you can get tickets for the buses that will take you up to Machu Picchu. This place also serves as a bus station if you choose to take the buses up. Anyways, Aguas Calientes certainly is a very cool town to just walk around and explore, and it really gives off big city vibes in very little geographic space. Well, sometimes the town may get a little bit too festive.
So I'm here in the hostel. I don't know if you can hear that, but they are sending off fireworks for some festival. Unfortunately, I couldn't go see it because I have to go to sleep for Machu Picchu tomorrow morning. But if you've ever heard fireworks, you can imagine what it sounds like inside a mountain valley where the sound just echoes. Hopefully it doesn't trigger a rock slide. I thought that's quite interesting, especially since I'm trying to go to sleep. Although I really wish I'd be able to be outside to look at it, but sleep's more important.
Now, the day you go to Machu Picchu, you have to make sure you have all your documents.
Of course, don't forget your passport, your Machu Picchu ticket, and then, of course, if you're taking the bus ticket. Here's my one-way bus ticket. I'll be walking back. We're here at 4, and the sky's still completely black.
Now if you elect to take the bus, head over to the bus station to get picked up and get shuttled up to the main entrance to Machu Picchu. Now some people elect to take the stairs up from Aguascalientes, and I did take them down and I think they were manageable, and I'll show you guys what that looks like later. If you also get the morning tickets for Machu Picchu, hang out on the sun terraces so that you'll be able to see the sunrise and see the golden rays of the sun envelop the ancient city. Slowly but surely, the sun's rays begin to crest over the easterly mountains. First hitting the protruding Huayna Picchu, and then slowly enveloping Machu Picchu. With the early morning solar dramatics out of the way, it was time to head into the city and explore its buildings. Now many of the buildings in Machu Picchu either hold religious significance or were related to royalty. And with views like this, it's hard not to see why. It's interesting to think what it would have been like to live here some 400 or 500 years ago, and how unimaginable it would have been for an Inca citizen walking along these streets to imagine that all these centuries later, tourists like me would be walking through the very same streets. Of course, the Inca are also known for their stonemasonry. And even though some parts of Machu Picchu have been reconstructed using modern technologies, it's still interesting to imagine how they would have built these things with primitive technology and a lack of advanced mechanical tools. In some places, this rebuilding effort can still be witnessed, as it's an ongoing process of preservation. However, the Intihuatana ritual stone is definitely original, which was used as an astronomical clock. Moving towards the green main square of Machu Picchu, the site's current residents reveal themselves. It's definitely appropriate to call Machu Picchu's gentle herd of llamas the local celebrities. And like real-life celebrities, these llamas also like to occasionally cause some trouble. I guess the old adage is true. Not all heroes wear capes. Going back to the sun terraces and climbing to the top, you'll find an exposed trail that leads you to the Inca Bridge. Now describing the Inca Bridge as a bridge is a bit of a stretch, as it merely consists of two tree trunks spanning a 20-foot gap. But what makes the Inca Bridge so special is what this gap lies on top of. As if the wood planks are removed, there's a sheer 1900-foot drop down to the valley floor below, making the Inca Bridge a very effective defense mechanism. Returning to the main site, some of you may be interested in making the climb up to Huayna Picchu. Unfortunately, I didn't acquire the permits necessary to go up, but I guess it's definitely worth it since it offers great views of Machu Picchu. So after spending a great day wandering around only Machu Picchu, I took one last look from the sun terraces and exited to begin my walk back down to Aguascalientes via the stairs. For those of you planning to take the stairs either up or down, this gives you a little bit of an idea of what they look like, as well as the scenery that you can see along the way.
Here's on the way down. Here's pretty much what it looks like. It's just stone steps. It's probably going to be like this all the way down.
After making it back to my hostel in Aguascalientes, I spent one more night in town, and the following morning, I packed my things and began the trek back to Hydroelectrica.
Here's another look on the east side of Machu Picchu from the road. I think I'll be able to see it again on the west side in a little bit. Definitely couldn't see these kind of views at nighttime. Though you could see the stars and the shape, the outline of the mountains. Certainly couldn't see all this.
Once you get back to Hydroelectrica, you can just hop on another Colectivo and enjoy the ride through beautiful, albeit precarious mountain roads. On the way back to Cusco, you can ask the driver to stop at towns such as Santa Teresa, which features the hot springs, or ask the driver to drop you off at Ollantaytambo, which is what I did. Now, because of my boneheaded mistake of not bringing enough memory cards, I was only able to take pictures of Ollantaytambo. But since it was such a lovely town, and also features one of the last Inca strongholds, I thought I'd share some of the photos I took of some of the lovely hikes in town, as well as the temple citadel. After spending the night in town, I hopped on yet another Colectivo headed for Cusco and arrived back in the city from where I started, wrapping up an exciting hike along the Salkantay Trail. So if you're ever in the Cusco area, pack your things and hit the trail. I highly recommend it.